Formula One legend Lewis Hamilton is in crisis. How did he go from being a 7-time champion to being completely lost at Ferrari? Today we tell you everything they're not telling you about his situation after the Saudi Arabian GP, and why this could be the beginning of the end. Lewis Hamilton arrived at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix with the pressure on. After a pre-season filled with expectations and his blockbuster signing with Ferrari, the entire world was focused on his performance. But what was seen in Jeddah was the opposite of what the fans had dreamed of, a weekend to forget. The 7-time world champion finished 7th, more than 31 seconds behind his teammate Charles Leclerc, who did manage to get on the podium with a solid 3rd place. This gap isn't just a bad day. It's a performance gap that raised all the alarms at Maranello and left analysts wondering if Hamilton is really ready for this new challenge. After getting out of the car, Hamilton didn't hold back. In an interview that lasted just 32 seconds, he was direct, blunt, and visibly upset. He said there was absolutely nothing positive to take away from the day, except for Leclerc's podium finish. He went further. He called the experience horrible and said it wasn't enjoyable at all. When asked if there was even a moment where he felt the car was responding well, his response was blunt. No, not a second. These words are unusual for a driver of Hamilton's caliber. They reveal a level of total discomfort with the SF-25, a car that, at least with Leclerc, does seem to be competitive. The most worrying thing is that he can't even clearly pinpoint what's wrong. He said the car clearly has potential because his teammate demonstrated it and he can't blame the machine. Which all boils down to one point: the problem is him. It's his connection to the car. It's the lack of adaptation to a completely new environment after more than a decade with Mercedes. Hamilton's lack of technical response, his refusal to identify a specific area for improvement, and the huge gap with Leclerc paint a grim picture. It's not just a poor performance. It's a crisis of automotive identity. Hamilton is out of step with Ferrari. And Formula One doesn't forgive lost time. This wasn't just a bad result. It was a direct blow to the confidence of a driver accustomed to dominating. And in a category where every thousandth of a second matters, losing connection with the car can mean losing the entire season. For many, what happened in Jeddah was the first big sign that Hamilton's story with Ferrari might not have the happy ending everyone had hoped for. When a driver like Lewis Hamilton with 7 world titles can't compete even against his own teammate in the same car, the problem goes far beyond a simple bad race. What's happening at Ferrari is a case of technical and philosophical incompatibility between driver and machine. Since his Formula One debut, Hamilton has perfected a very specific driving style. His approach is based on braking hard and late, maximizing braking power to gain time through the corners. It's an aggressive style, refined to the millimeter over years with Mercedes technology, a car designed specifically for him. But that style is now completely under threat. The Ferrari SF-25 simply doesn't allow for that kind of handling. Its braking system and the way it delivers power through corners require a completely different approach. Instead of braking late, the car demands more progressive and earlier braking. And this, while seemingly a minor technical detail, completely changes the car's behavior in Hamilton's hands. The most alarming thing is that Ferrari can't significantly modify the car's shape to suit his style. There is no easy solution to the chassis, the aerodynamics, or even the power unit software. The improvements that could be made will be minimal, insufficient to transform the car's behavior in a way that suits Hamilton. This places the entire responsibility on the driver's shoulders. The Scuderia has made it clear that Hamilton will have to adapt to the SF-25, not the other way around. He has to change his driving style, modifying patterns he's repeated thousands of times on circuits around the world. In other words, he has to unlearn in order to relearn in the middle of the season, under constant pressure from the media, fans, and the team itself. And all this is happening while Charles Leclerc, who already knows the car and its philosophy, is taking advantage of the technical package. The contrast between the two is no coincidence. It's proof that the Ferrari works, but only if you understand it. Only if you drive it a certain way. And Hamilton hasn't yet achieved that connection. In a sport as technological as Formula One, psychological factors also play a fundamental role. Every lap Hamilton takes without understanding the car, every mistake he makes due to a lack of confidence, erodes his confidence. The accumulated frustration not only affects his performance, it also blocks his ability to adapt. The real problem isn't just technical. It's human. It's an internal battle between the driver he was, the car he has, and the time that's running against him. Ferrari knows that the situation with Hamilton cannot continue without a technical response. Although the responsibility for adaptation falls largely on the driver, the Maranello team hasn't sat idly by. In Bahrain, the team introduced the first major update package of the season. The priority: increasing the SF-25's downforce, especially on the car's floor, one of the most critical components for stability and overall performance. These modifications ranged from the Venturi channels to the rear diffuser. Although the improvement was estimated at approximately 1/10 per lap, in a grid as tight as the 2025 grid, a tenth can mean the difference between a third row and the fight for the podium. But even with these improvements, Charles Leclerc himself was clear. It's not enough to close the gap of 3 or 4 tenths that still separates them from McLaren and Red Bull. For Saudi Arabia, Ferrari expanded the range of configurations with a new, revised rear wing. The inclusion of shortened versions of previous solutions and other medium and low downforce solutions allowed the team to experiment with different combinations during free practice sessions. The goal is clear: to find that balance that allows both Leclerc and Hamilton to maximize the car's potential at each circuit. But the big problem remains. If Hamilton doesn't find comfort with the car, even the best technical setup won't be enough to turn things around. And this is where the real tension arises. Hamilton has been blunt. After his race in Jeddah, he warned that the rest of the year could be painful, that the car simply doesn't want to work with him. It wasn't an emotional statement. It was a judgment. And the worst part is that it was based on direct experience. He said he tried everything, and nothing worked. This scenario raises an uncomfortable dilemma for Ferrari. Should they continue investing resources to help a driver who clearly doesn't feel in tune with their technical philosophy? Or should they focus exclusively on Leclerc, who is achieving results? The season is long, but time is not on Hamilton's side. Every race in which he fails to adapt isn't just a point lost in the championship. It's a blow to his image. It's an erosion of confidence. It's a sign that perhaps this project isn't what he or Ferrari expected. The future of this alliance depends on whether, in the upcoming technical updates, Ferrari manages not only to improve the car, but also to make it more friendly to Hamilton's style. And at the same time, whether the driver is willing to make concessions, modify his approach, and abandon the reflexes of more than a decade with Mercedes. Because if that doesn't happen, there won't be enough technical improvement to turn things around. Only accumulated frustration. And a project that began as a historic revolution could end up being one of the biggest failures in the Scuderia's recent history. Behind every move in Formula One is a strategy that goes far beyond on-track performance. And Ferrari's signing of Lewis Hamilton is, in essence, a masterstroke in terms of image, branding, and media power. Ferrari didn't just sign a 7-time world champion for his potential victories. They did so because Hamilton is a global figure. His impact goes beyond the racetrack. His name makes headlines, his presence opens markets, and his influence transcends the sporting landscape. He's one of the few drivers who can alter the perception of a brand just by being associated with them. From the moment his arrival was announced, Ferrari's shares soared. The news spread around the world. It wasn't just a signing, it was a statement of intent. Ferrari wasn't just looking for performance, it was looking to position itself as the most ambitious team of the new era. And who better than the most successful driver of the modern era to embody that ambition? But that strategy also carries a risk. The higher a driver's profile, the greater the pressure. The more the pressure is expected. And when the results don't pan out, the effect can backfire. Because the media narrative is unforgiving. If Hamilton doesn't perform, the same media that glorified him will be the first to question it. And what was once a brilliant move can become a source of constant tension. At Maranello, they know this. That's why, beyond on-track results, Ferrari also has a post-race plan with Hamilton. His role as brand ambassador is already agreed upon. A projected decade of collaborations on campaigns, events, and institutional presence. It's a relationship designed for the long term, where sporting success would be the ideal culmination, but not the only goal. That plan also gives Hamilton some leeway. A room for maneuver that perhaps another driver in his situation wouldn't have. Ferrari doesn't see him just as a competitor. They see him as a symbol. And that explains why they're willing to be patient. To invest time and resources in an adaptation process that, so far, has been more complicated than expected. But time is limited. Formula One doesn't wait. The pressure mounts with each race without a podium. And as much as Hamilton's value as a public figure is unquestionable, the legacy he wants to leave at Ferrari depends on what he does now, on the track, under pressure, with the clock ticking and expectations at their highest. Ferrari's gamble was bold. But it remains to be seen whether it was visionary or a historic mistake. Everything will depend on whether Hamilton manages to translate that global impact to the only stage that truly matters in this sport, the finish line. Lewis Hamilton's current situation at Ferrari is a high-impact case that goes far beyond a bad run. It's a collision between legacy and reality, between what a driver who dominated an era represents and what a new technical context, a new car, and a new team culture demand. The data is undeniable. The SF-25 has potential. Leclerc has proven it. The car is far from perfect, but it has been able to achieve podium finishes, fight for good results, and stay in contention with the best. And yet, Hamilton remains trapped in an adaptation process that, so far, shows no clear signs of progress. His frustration isn't theatrical. It's real. It's that of a competitor accustomed to winning who now finds himself unable to find his rhythm. It's that of a driver who, for the first time in a long time, faces a barrier he can't break through with talent alone. And the most disturbing thing is that he knows it himself. He said it bluntly after Saudi Arabia. The car doesn't want to work with him. He's tried everything, and nothing works. Words that reveal not only a lack of technical solutions, but a crisis of confidence. Because when a driver doubts his machine, his environment, and his ability to respond, the direct consequence is a drop in performance. And in Formula One, that is synonymous with lost time, points, and reputation. But it's also true that Hamilton has faced challenges before. He's been criticized, underestimated, pushed to the ropes. And he's responded. He's come back stronger. So, even if the present seems bleak, no one can rule out the possibility that he'll turn things around. That he'll understand the car. That he'll find a way, even if it's unconventional, to compete with it. Because if he succeeds, the impact will be monumental. Ferrari also has its share of responsibility. It must decide whether to invest everything in this project, whether it's willing to adjust its approach to facilitate Hamilton's adaptation, or whether it will focus on the one who's already performing. That decision will determine not only the fate of this season, but also the course of the coming years. The story between Hamilton and Ferrari is just beginning, but the narrative is already fraught with tension, expectations, and doubts. And what happens in the next few races will be key, not just for the championship, but for his legacy. This could be the biggest challenge of his career, or his biggest mistake. Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, we'll all be watching. Because when a legend goes through a crisis, the whole world watches.